What oddly specific type of men or women do you seem to attract? Lesbians. I'm a straight woman married to a man. Morbidly obese man. I'm talking big. I'm a size 0. Older guys, like 60 plus. I'm in my 40s. My husband is younger than I. Guys who won't take no for an answer. I'm married. Basically, people with no respect to boundaries. People in polyamorous relationships. I'm monogamous. Married men. I've never cheated. Single men with kids. I'm child-free. Story 2. Avoidant men who change their mind really fast early on because they realize that I'm not the emotionally low-maintenance girl they initially fantasized I would be. Surprise! I carry trauma from watching my best friend pass away and go to therapy for it. I will absolutely talk about it because I'm not going to repress it into mental illness. Story 3. Creepers. Literally was approached by a guy at the gym wearing a Corn Hub shirt. He said it looked good on his Harley. Told him I have a boyfriend, which is true, and he still pressed on about how we should go to a party out in the boonies with him. I'm often approached by people and told the weirdest things. My friends say it's because I'm friendly, but I don't understand why it seems to bring in creepy people in particular. Story 4. Gay dudes. I'm a straight man. I was hit on far more by gay men than women. It did always make my day and flatter me when I got hit on, though, and it doesn't happen that much anymore since I'm a boring married dad. One guy literally said I looked so beautiful. It was probably the most awesome compliment I ever received, especially since that's really not how I've ever seen myself. Thank you, my gay bros, for the much-needed self-esteem boost, and I hope you all found love. Story 5. Fat chicks. I'm talking about gets winded checking the mail, not sure if they can properly wipe fat, and traumatized narcissists. Pretty sure I attract the fat chicks because I treat them like any other person, and they're so used to being ignored or dismissed that they just latch onto it. Always feel bad rejecting them. No clue narcs seem to love me, though. It's like there's some sign-up light over my head saying, hey, come confuse this dude here. Story 6. Trans or genderqueer closeted people. I don't seek them out on purpose, but luck would have it that 5 of my ex-partners or flings transitioned later on. I've never been with a trans person post-transition. I'm not against it just never happened. I'm bisexual, but I wasn't even out for the first 2, so how could they have known? The first was my first high school boyfriend, who is now a woman. The second was a gay guy, I thought, who I hung out with as friends until they introduced me to their entire family as their girlfriend. I laughed and broke off the relationship because what the hell? That gay boy is now a bi woman, so my gaydar was half right. The third, fourth, and fifth were all in college. One is a trans guy, who I had a brief fling with when I thought he was a girl. Story 7. This may not be what you're looking for, but almost every time I go out to eat, I get the worst service. And before you go attacking me as a person, I'm a great tipper and not a crappy Karen. It's been happening for years. Like, we get seated and then no service, or people that came in after us get served and leave before we get our food. I'm a decent person, not a schmuck, even when I feel like I should be. Story 8. Men with disabilities. When I was in my first year of college, a partially blind guy asked me out. Months later, a guy with intellectual problems hit on me and asked me out as well. My ex was autistic. A year after a breakup, I met my current best friend who is also autistic and intellectually disabled. People have told me that I attract these types of people because of how friendly I am and because I actually accept them the way they are. But I wish they had the capability to differentiate between friendliness and flirtiness. Story 9. People who are married to others who just want to drink or get spiked or converse and do it. Thankfully, I realized this after the first 2 times it happened and do not or have not dated anyone married, engaged, or in a relationship in over 24 years. Or they are recovering users on shaky ground who fall madly in love with my grounded and safe, warm social work facade and want me to save them by being in a relationship with them. Luckily, I paid attention during this part of my education that said transference or counter-transference would feel very real, and to know when to check myself and speak with my supervisors about things. How's that for oddly specific? Story 10. This is a silly problem, but it's still a problem. I've always absolutely fallen in love with girls who have raven black hair and porcelain white skin. They did not seem to like me so much. Instead, I normally end up with a cheerleader type or the ex-cheerleader. I think a huge issue with that is, even though I'm pretty liberal, I present myself as very conservative. I'm a huge fan of philosophy, history, sci-fi, and horror. I'm an all-around nerd, but looking at me, you would think I'm some type of prep, a huge Trump supporter or an ex-football player. That is the opposite of who I am. So I guess I'll stick with the blondes and the strawberry redheads, but damn it, I love girls who look like vampires. Story 11. I attract a wildly charismatic guy who lights up the room, you know? The one you usually see in the crime dramas. Trying to figure out how to attract the kind of man who doesn't just want his ego stroked. But this broken time in my life is not the time for me to seek a partner, so I'm extending my break from dating. I'm open and bubbly as a person, and normal boundaries feel foreign to me, so I naturally overshare and over-explain, which is like catnip for the creepy type of people. Story 12. Femme lesbian women. I have to inform every single time that I'm married and completely straight, which is usually a very respectful response of got it, or something similar like that. Women shooting their shots are so respectful compared to men, which, in turn, I respect very much, and is actually how I became friends with many of the friends that are LGBTQ+, and they usually end up telling me after a while that they are glad that I'm straight because it wouldn't work out in a relationship. Lol, no explanation other than that, but you know what? I agree. Story 13. I'm a cis man who attracts and is attracted to lesbians. I've lost count of the number of lesbians I've caused to question their sexuality or who hadn't realized they were lesbian yet but were attracted to me. And I'm inexplicably attracted to women who are lesbians. Like, if I know I don't pursue them romantically, it just happens. Or they approach me after beginning to question their sexuality. But no, I do not have the power to magically make lesbians into straight women. Every time, without fail, once the clothes come off, reality hits and brakes get slammed. I've been told multiple times independently and without prompting that I register as a lesbian on Gaydar, which I don't freaking know what that means, but I guess being baby-faced, effeminate, cis man does that. Being a straight twink, I guess, makes you come off as a lesbian. Notably, this stopped happening once I grew my beard out. So yeah, problem solved. Story 14. Unfortunately, I seem to attract people who have known me since I was a toddler and who babysat me a few times. Or I attract really old men who like to walk up to me while I'm in a store by myself and just say the funniest crap. I once had a guy in a gas station tell me that I was a seriously sexy woman and that he wished he could ride off with me tonight. Then, as I stepped outside of the gas station, I saw him trying to wrangle his 2 kids into his van with his girlfriend or wife. He gave me a little wave and a wink when I got into my car. Shaking my head. LOL. Story 15. I'm a runner, cyclist, and general cardio lover. I seem to attract a lot of women who are homebody types and prefer to be less active. I just want someone to ride bicycles or run a 5K with me, especially when the weather is nice. I also seem to attract a lot of women who just hate men in general. I get a lot of comments like, "You're really sweet for a straight man." I'm not fully straight, but okay. Just makes me think, how would you like it if I said, "You're really smart for a woman"? Maybe I'm overly sensitive, but I just don't like qualifiers like that. It reminds me too much of comments like, "You're really well-spoken" for a black person. Story 16. I keep meeting women who are either freshly out of or in the process of ending long-term relationships. They view me as an upgrade. Taller, more financially stable, more emotionally stable, etc. In their quest to avoid being single. I do not want to be someone's upgrade. Possibly related is the weirdly high number of women I meet who want me to dom them. I don't go out of my way to spend time in freaky spaces or anything. That way I'm more comfortable with that than the average person. Maybe I just don't understand how common that fantasy is. Story 17. I seem to attract mentally unstable people with daddy or mummy issues. My last 3 relationships were with women with borderline personality disorder, BPD. It was an emotional roller coaster. The first woman became pregnant and then was sectioned. We broke up shortly afterward over a separate issue. The second one was actually really nice. She just lived far away, so I couldn't see her as much as we wanted to. The third one, boy, if I could write a story about her, it would be called Run, Forrest, Run. Should have run away long before I did. Story 18. I grew up in a relatively posh area, but was friends with a lot of people who used substances, and I used them myself. I always attracted the most wholesome girls who wanted nothing to do with that lifestyle or my friends, and any girl who was into that scene was absolutely uninterested in me. I think it's because I sounded like a posh and it wasn't obvious that I was into that scene. Any girls who were into it wanted nothing to do with me because I was too posh sounding and not cool enough to be seen with. The girls who were interested were from places and groups that had never been exposed to that side of life and wanted nothing to do with it. Essentially, I was 2 different people. While it was annoying at the time that I couldn't find someone to date who was into that scene, I think it would have been a disaster if I had, because I would never have had the willpower or desire to stop. Eventually, I found someone who doesn't want to be involved in that scene but doesn't judge me when I am. In return, I make sure it's infrequent and they know that I value time sober with them more than anything else. I'm not as posh as I sound, but I don't blame anyone for judging a book by its cover. There are a lot of rich twats in that scene who are insufferable, and it's fair enough if someone is so desperate to avoid them that they don't take a risk with me. Story 19. I seem to attract women who are either very skinny or overweight and lack the motivation to go to the gym, even when I want them to come with me. Most of them also don't have a higher level of education. Many of them have issues from their childhood, such as divorced parents or other bad situations. This is ironic because I'm literally going to the gym to improve myself and I have a degree. All I want is a girl who will go to the gym with me or at least is at a healthy weight and has a degree or a stable job. Story 20. This doesn't apply to my current partner, but in the past you wouldn't believe how many guys latched onto me who were quite depressed, self-destructive, and obsessive. They were also fond of dumping uncomfortably heavy baggage on me very quickly after meeting me. Oddly enough, several of these guys were also autistic, but that's not the aspect I had a problem with. Even more strangely, a few girls who also fit that description got way too attached to me as well. Though in those cases, they weren't actually into me, if that makes sense. One of those girls is actually the direct cause of most of the issues that have plagued me for almost half my life now. If I never see her face again, it will be too soon. Basically, for all the reasons above, I'm very wary and careful about who I let get close to me, and I don't like to be left alone with a new person for any length of time. Story 21. 40 to 60-year-old male executives from another country always seem fascinated by me. The craziest part is that, although I'm bisexual, I present somewhat masculine. I wear baggy men's clothes, no makeup, I have short nails, and 95% of the people I've been with have been other women. Once I went to a bar on a work trip. I was jet-lagged, hadn't gotten much sleep, hadn't washed my hair in a week, and was wearing sweatpants and a baggy sleeveless shirt. This guy, who was one of the shareholders of a company we had hired, hit on me the entire night. He was actually very attractive, so I played along and we kissed. I've been thinking of investing more in this endeavor, but it sucks that it's always some rich, busy guy from another country and I don't have the money to travel around to meet them again. Story 22. Single moms of more than one child who are out of their 20s and are now using their 30s as a release. There are a couple of them, and they're all equally bad at communicating. I honestly just chalk this up to them being a mom rather than them ignoring me, as that's what they say every time they call me. Getting them to commit to more than 3 days with you, child-free, is an S-tier difficulty. I want this one woman so badly, and she was even able to partially commit a couple of days with me on vacation in Colorado, but then she would have had to go back to her godkid's birthday, where her kids were going to be. I told her I can't do that. 2 days isn't enough for her to experience Colorado, and it's definitely not enough for me to experience all of her. I can tell she's into me because she was gushing over the fact that I made her choose her kids over me, and she has been giving me dates she's free during the school year. Story 23. I'm on Reddit a lot, and over the years of reading comments regarding relationship advice, people, and partners, I've come to a realization. I'm probably the most average-looking, normal, and decent human being on this planet, yet I've never had a partner because I'm too scared to even try. Knowing myself, I don't think that will change, though. Yet some of the people being described in these comments are wild to me, and they're somehow getting together to begin with. Lol. Story 24. Before my current partner, I always seemed to attract guys who constantly negged me, put me down, and never acknowledged my strengths. There was always a focus on criticism and how I could improve and never on lifting me up. They would act super uplifting and boost my confidence in the beginning, but it was always on act to get me hooked. Then they would completely flip. If I had any kind of admiration for other people in my life, they would always put them down too, especially family members. Then, after I left, it was always, "You're the most amazing person, I'm sorry I didn't appreciate you." Luckily, with my current partner, we really respect and admire each other and bring out the very best in one another. Story 25. Soft Hello Kitty types tend to have been cheaters or serial cheaters. For some reason, they crave validation from men, struggle to be alone, and are constantly in relationships. They have all called me a golden retriever. It's kind of surreal how it's been the same pattern. I have no idea why, but I'm like a bat signal to them. I mean, they tend to be my physical type, so that would work out in my favor, but it's everything else that I don't like. This is especially frustrating since I've typically been led on, so it's not exactly a win. I always just assume it's because I have low value, but I'd be curious to see someone else's take on why I attract this exact pattern. Story 26. I'm not usually into white guys, but you're cool. I have no idea what I'm doing to elicit a comment like that. I've just always figured it had something to do with me being super left-leaning or something similar because my look does not give off a not like other white guys vibe. Lol. For added context, the people who have said this to me have been either white or mixed, and there are really no other similarities between them. It's not a vibe I can pick up on, even after it's happened so much. If anyone is into this type, I guess please fill me in. Story 27. Nice guys. Like, legitimate nice guys. They may be a little dim-witted and unobservant at times, but they are genuinely nice and respectable humans. I don't get hit on very often, but nearly every guy I've dated was a decent human being who didn't deserve the amount of hate that mean girls give them. I feel bad that I broke up with him, but it had more to do with conflicting interests and timelines than personalities. Now I'm engaged to the sweetest boy imaginable. Story 28. Every single girl I've ever gotten involved with has told me at some point that their parents are divorced or their dad wasn't really in the picture. I seem to attract women from broken families or with emotionally unavailable fathers. I have absolutely no idea what it is about me that makes me a magnet for people like this. It also makes me sad because I'm a very empathetic person, but I have my own insecurities. I always feel like there's suddenly an expectation from these people that I'm this super resilient, stoic, and totally infallible man. But really all I want is to be told I'm beautiful, that I'm loved, and to occasionally have something nice done for me, too. Maybe being slightly effeminate is a draw for these people. The fact that I am 5 for 5 on this, without knowing it at the start of a relationship, makes me feel like I'm a massive statistical outlier. Story 29. Smart, talented, respectful, and introverted guys who at some point retroactively admit they had a crush on me. To be honest, I'm pretty proud of this. It's not like I ever go out of my way to flirt with them or anything. Just being friendly and approachable and treating people who are used to feeling invisible with kindness and respect goes a long way. I'm proud of myself for being a force for good in the world in this way. It makes me so happy to see these late bloomers eventually find happy relationships. Story 30. Women who want to mold me into their own little pet. My insecurity about losing someone I care about, combined with my generally kind and helpful nature, seems to attract people who seek an easy mark to take advantage of. As far as I can tell, they are women who have been burned by their exes and are looking for a way to take back their independence. However, they do so by trying to dominate someone else. Of course, this is just one guy's opinion on my own personal experience. Story 31. When I think back on all the women who have ever been interested in me, about 50% of them have been Scorpios. This is clearly statistically significant. If I were to hazard a guess, it would be this. I'm somewhat mysterious with a quiet, unassuming surface. I'm highly trustworthy and in control of my emotions. I know myself and have a deeper inner world, but I only share it with the people I'm closest to. I'm only close with a few people at a time. I think they see me as emotionally resilient but willing to be vulnerable if they play their cards right. If any Scorpios want to weigh in, I'd love your perspective. I'm an Aquarius man, so I'm not typically who they would be interested in. Story 32. I used to attract insecure girls who were struggling to get over a past relationship or rejection and had insane trust issues. Fortunately, I've learned to keep an eye out for red flags and know when to turn around before things get hairy. I'm just a mildly sheltered guy who likes video games. I like to think I'm a genuinely kind person and I take people at face value. I'm not very judgmental. I've been told this may be why I attract these people. I'm currently in a year-long relationship with a confident and secure girl. As a somewhat insecure guy, her confidence is rubbed off on me. She's so confident and sure of what she wants and needs that there's just no room left for me to doubt her feelings for me. If you're enjoying the video, don't forget to hit that subscribe and like button for more videos like this. Story 33. The men I seem to attract all have some type of really messed up relationship with their parents. My ex-husband didn't speak to his father, and his mother put him in the role of man of the house and surrogate husband. He wanted to heal from that and got a lot of therapy. The next guy was his mom's second kid. His father and his older sister's father were both not involved in their lives. His stepfather came into his life when he was less than 2, and he was raised as an army brat. Considering how much he seems to look down on his mom and women in general, I'm guessing that at least someone in his core social structure growing up was incredibly sexist. My next ex was severely mistreated by his narcissistic dad his whole life. He has several siblings with whom he has no relationship because once their mothers realized what his dad was really like, they would take off and file restraining orders. His mom moved him across several states at one point without realizing the impact it would have on his education. His credits from the first day weren't accepted in the new state, and he went from an honor student to being told he'd have to repeat a grade to make up for the credits. He ended up dropping out of school and has had issues with substances on and off since then. He was very, very sweet until he thought I was in it for the long haul, then he turned controlling and dismissive. Story 34. Men. Married, unfortunately. Disgusting. If they aren't married, they often have a strong victim mentality and a narcissistic personality. They present as successful but are unmotivated and unwilling to improve themselves. They are the typical nice guys and say things like, all my exes are crazy. Physically, they're all over the spectrum in weight, physical fitness, and height. They're usually not white or East Asian, mostly Hispanic and black men. I'm white, but I'm frequently mistaken for being Native American or Hispanic. I'm not approached frequently by women. The women who do approach me are an equal mix of masculine and feminine and usually have high levels of an unhealed and ignored trauma. Story 35. Why can't you just accept me as I am? I care but can't show it. Insecure, immature, unable to regulate. I've been through emotional and mental hell most of my life because my parents accepted each other as they are and refused to change because deep inside they're good people. Sure, I can take it, but I want kids one day, and a 3, 6, 10-year-old won't understand you're a good person deep inside or turn into you. I think I'm kind of like my parents, but not quite. I haven't deleted the programming completely. Story 36. I'm usually someone's in-between or rebound. It sucks because I feel like I'm a decent, intelligent person, which is likely why these people keep coming back. They either use me for intimacy or to stroke their ego because some girl broke their heart. They also come to me because I have more in common with them, and their girlfriends don't understand them as much as I do. Those are their words. Ugh, how fun. Many of the guys who tried to date me ended up keeping one foot out the door, still on dating apps or actually dating, even when we had decided to be exclusive. Many of them cheated the second I held them accountable because I wasn't fun anymore. Just scum. One guy I cut things off with would text me images of girls who resembled me, and he'd say he was going to meet up with them for intimacy and pretend they were me. It was disturbing behavior because I had rejected him. I started blocking all of them when I noticed the pattern of being used for what was lacking in their lives or relationships. It took me more years to realize than I care to admit. I'm in a long-term relationship now with a super nerd. It took me a while to believe that I could be loved after all the previous treatment. He doesn't understand why I don't feel beautiful or anything because of all the damage that was done. I seriously consider staying single if this ever happens again down the line. I thrive when I'm single, and men have just been like weird car troubles, a waste of money and time that keep me from traveling on my own path. Story 37. Initially emotionally unavailable, I drive throughout the relationship, so I try hard. They then become possessive. I leave because it's weird. They then stalk me and try to convince me to come back because my attempts at being the best appear to be the best in their eyes. What's crazy is that I never even give me full effort because I have to feel love to do that, so they miss out. But I do give a solid 80%. Story 38. I went through a stage of attracting only cheaters, but then, ironically, I dated a few guys with other women, and I quote, wouldn't touch with a 10-foot barge pole. I figured I wouldn't get cheated on if I dated guys who were so toxic, rough, and awful. Boy, was I wrong. It turns out that line of reasoning just puts you even further down to I'm worthless and deserve to be punished route than just staying single. I stayed single for over 3 years and went to therapy. I'm still going, but there's a lot to unpack. While I was single, I still attracted schmucks and other even worse ne'er-do-wells, but this time I was done. Over the course of my childhood and beyond, I'd been given the self-esteem, self-respect, and self-image of a leprosy-ridden plague rat. I was finally done. Next February, it'll be 10 years with my current and hopefully forever partner. While we're both healing the damage done to us over our lives, we help each other, stand tall, and feel loved for everything we are, not just our pretty faces. P.S. I still get the occasional, "Hey baby, how you doing and want to do it?" But now I finally learned that I don't need them. I need me, and that's it. Also my cat, because if she finds out I wrote this without including her or her late aunt, I'll never hear the end of it. I'm aware of my place as a cat servant. Random advice. For anyone reading this or who just glimpses it while skimming, you're not worthless. Accept only what you would want or expect a loved one to accept. Worst case scenario, if you have nobody to vent to, tell a pet, a plushie, a plant, or a wall. If you hear what you're saying and get angry and feel like you'd end your friend's problems caused by their crappy partner, then you know what you need to accept for yourself. It's easier said than done, yes, but so is every discovery humans have made. Story 39. I'm Latino, so basically if you're a woman who A. comes from a culture with amazing food, B. has strong opinions and a no-nonsense attitude, because men from your culture are practically children, C. has most likely raven black, brown, or very light brown hair, D. has a thing for facial and body hair, chances are you'll at least like me, with the exception of one German girl and one Japanese-Canadian girl to lock down that Axis combo. 95% of my other girlfriends, dates, situationships, and one mistress belong to one of the following: Latin American and the Caribbean, Mediterranean, literally any country that touches it. I've learned Portuguese, French, Italian, and Greek by proxy. West Africa. Latin America has a huge cultural influence from this region. Thailand. No idea why, but I've seen some Thai men who are very handsome, so I felt quite flattered. Canadian First Nations. I absolutely know why. We're cousins. Latinos look very much like them, and we get along. Honestly, all in all, I'm very lucky. You just need to know where it's time to shut up and follow orders, when it's time for a cuddle, when it's for fast food or posh food, and when it's time for a wink wink nudge nudge, which will be often in my experience, and you will be golden. Story 40. I'm stable, married, good-looking, masculine, smart, and wise in real life, so women with daddy issues constantly follow me. My wife is amused at how easy it is for me to get certain types of women to do whatever I want or need. Being a charming schmuck goes a long way with some women. It's not the same with men. Boyfriends, husbands, and male friends always seem to hate me or get fixated on trying to make me look bad. It's funny. Story 41. When I was younger, I used to attract girls with anxiety and trauma. I also have an anxiety disorder and have dealt with trauma. And I noticed every relationship ended the same way. I understood that I was part of the problem and decided to stay single and seek therapy. I'm much better now, but I don't attract women anymore. I guess it's because I made myself so unavailable that they might smell it from miles away, or maybe I don't notice if a woman is staring at me because I avoid eye contact. Story 42. When I was younger, I used to attract men who didn't speak a single word of any language I knew, including Albanian, Vietnamese, Portuguese, and Chinese. I would go somewhere a few times, and these men would have pocket dictionaries or things written in English for me to read. I don't know what it was about young me that attracted people to the point that they'd bring a pocket dictionary just to communicate and ask me out. One time I accepted because it had happened so much that I thought maybe it was my fate. This Vietnamese man and I went out. He would call me and speak in Vietnamese, and then another man would speak to me in English. Several phone calls were like this, and he was really trying to go through the talking stage. We went on a date. He took me to a Vietnamese restaurant for drinks only, then to an Irish pub for food. Then he took me to a racetrack and gifted me a new pair of Ralph Lauren leather gloves that I still have 20 years later, even though it was warm outside. He was talking and listening to me, but neither of us understood each other. He called his friend from a payphone, and I don't remember the conversation. His friend picked us up, and we all went out for Vietnamese coffee. It was such a long date, but it was fun. We went on a few more dates, but we stopped talking because neither of us could understand each other enough, and I think his friend was tired of being his translator. I picked up a few Vietnamese words that I still remember 20 years later. Hung, if you're reading this, it's me, the Latina woman you dated. Sorry we couldn't communicate, but you're a good man, and I hope you're living your best life. Story 43. I've never been with a girl who didn't have a dramatic family crisis. Here are some examples. One girl's dad was a raging alcoholic with no job who lived on loans from friends and family. She was 25 and had a 9 p.m. curfew every day of the year, which she followed because she didn't want to make him sad. Another girl's mom had an emotional affair. Her dad sold the house, traveled to another country, spent all the money, came back, and got married again. They all ended up living in the grandma's house. Another girl's mom cheated on her dad, not emotionally. Her older sister passed away and the girl had serious anger issues, BPD, and psychotic episodes. In one case, the dad was the grandma's little puppy and the mom was an obedient housewife. The trust level in the house was minus 5,000. One girl's dad was not in the picture at all. She used to wait for his birthday and ask for the most degrading intimacy possible. Afterward, she'd say, "That was for you son of a witch." I don't think it's about who I attract, it's about who I choose. All my love to all of them, though. They were all decent human beings. Story 44. Recently split from their post-divorce relationship. They're not sure what they're looking for and say they want to take it slow and see what's out there. Then they lay eyes on me for the first time in person and spend the whole evening telling me they've never felt like this before. They then love bomb me for 6 to 12 months saying, "Where have you been all my life?" They buy me everything and take me everywhere. They give me the most intense bouts of insane daily intimacy in imaginative places. Then, when I finally accept that this could be real, he realizes he needs to get to know myself as myself again, only to return 6 to 12 months later with some grand gesture begging me to please take him back, right after he has seen my recent social media post proudly debuting my newest version of him. It happens like freaking clockwork every gosh darn time. At least they stick to a similar schedule. Story 45. I'm a geek who spends most of his time playing games, writing my next D&D session, making some crappy music that I like, and going on walks with my dog. I'm tall and pretty thin and I have long blonde hair. I like my alone time but occasionally go into town for an event. I seem to attract women with anxious attachment styles in a combination of 2 or more of the following: PTSD, bipolar disorder, borderline personality disorder, anxiety, and ADHD. They have lots of tattoos, are often very voluptuous. I have no idea why, but I'm not complaining. They sometimes have bright, colorful hair like blue or pink. Most of them have an affinity for energy, spirits, or gems and crystals. The last woman I dated had me draw some cards from a deck that would supposedly dictate my future. We drew cards that indicated we were meant to be together. We weren't, but she believed we were. You know the rest. Oh, and I'd say all but one were born in December. All in all, they were great, but very unhealthy for me. Most of them were casuals, and a few were serious relationships in which they cheated on me. There was one really religious girl a long time ago who was seemingly the most well put together. She wanted to have a baby with me and her herself when I tried to break up with her. She also cheated on me afterward. And that's why I'm remaining single for a while. Story 46. Weird, nerdy guys with mommy issues, tattoos, and a way too strong interest in some niche hobby or ideology. I think they expect me to be the base girlfriend of their fantasies, but I'm not. I also attract bookish, femme women. I'm much happier about attracting them. Lol. Thankfully, I'm now with a guy who's just the right kind of weird and nerdy. He's also a well-adjusted man who wants me to be myself, not some hot, nerdy girlfriend fantasy. I lucked out with him. Story 47. I'm straight, but huge gay men love me. Like they'd risk it all for me. I'm 6'1", but I'm almost always approached as a bottom. It's funny because you think, yeah, I'm a tough guy. And the next thing you know, there's a 6'7" Russian trying his absolute best to turn you into a toy. I've gotten a couple of serious sugar baby offers, and one guy tried to take me to Venice to be his toy. It's funny because most women don't really notice me. Whatever it is about me seems to only be appreciated by the gay male gaze. I have a kind of feminine yet masculine look and a bit of a flirt with the world personality that seems to just scream top tier gay. It's kind of interesting because it's given me a taste of the female perspective. While it's nice to get attention, sometimes you just want to say, please don't touch me, and their presence can make you feel a little uncomfortable for the rest of the night. Story 48. I tend to attract the broken types. It might not be an obvious wound, like a lost relationship or something that can be easily fixed. In some bizarre way, an action of mine from long ago caused a butterfly effect that I have to either figure out how I was involved in, fix, or take no action on. But I can't reveal this to the person I'm in a relationship with. I know that sounds like a stretch, so here's an example. In high school, a girl and I were talking. I mentioned another student who had boasted that he was a stalker of beautiful women. I told the story just like he did, with fanfare. He rounded the corner and immediately thought I was bad-mouthing him. I was only joking, doing a comedic repetition of his act, but he had done it with such flair publicly that there was no doubt everyone had heard it. He stalked off, and the girl went after him. I didn't apologize because I felt like I was just repeating his act. 8 years later, I ran into her, and we began to talk and catch up. I just returned from the Navy. I found out she had a daughter, and the father was that other student. As we continued to meet up, I learned that the guy was attempting to distance himself from both of them and maybe eventually leave to get milk permanently, despite the girl not obligating him to pay child support. It later dawned on me that my actions years ago gave birth to this child. I was adopted and never know my birth parents. I was blessed to be adopted by 2 parents who gave me love and helped me grow, so I decided to give the daughter her parents. They began to show signs that I was serious about the mother. This slowly dawned on her and she hesitated, telling me that her daughter only had one father and she wanted to keep it that way. I continued to persist, knowing word would get back to the father. I knew him to be an easily jealous type. I wanted him to feel some pressure, but not to the point of an aggressive confrontation. He slowly started to attend family outings, go to church, and be a father. As the mother excitedly told me this, I slowly started to ghost myself until I was deployed and then stopped talking to them. About 4 years later, I learned that they had officially married, had another child on the way, and had just bought their own house. As it should be. A similar situation happened with another mother and child. My dating her brought the father to be more and more supportive and present as a child. I again ghosted myself, and like the former couple, they married and had 2 more children. I lost contact with them and assumed they were doing well. I've accepted that I might be that best friend who remains unmarried and single. Story 49. 90% of the time, I attract a narcissist. I'm not talking about somebody who just acts like a schmuck. I'm talking about somebody who puts me through the love bomb, devalue, discard, and Hoover cycle. They triangulate and feature fake, all that stuff. It took me to my 40s to figure out what was going on. I was pretty dense for many years and was easily fooled by the love bombing, future faking, and pretty words. I could never figure out how they were so in love with me and then their feelings seemed to grow cold one day on a dime. It happened repeatedly in nearly every relationship. I thought it was something I had done and drove myself crazy trying to figure out. The other 10% of the time, it's somebody awkward with nearly non-existent social skills. I don't mean someone who's quiet, shy, or nerdy and into anime or trivia. I mean somebody who can drone on and on for hours about some random topic and offend people by sticking their foot in their mouth. Story 50. Gruff man with a past whom I've known for years but only get to know on a deeper level. They are emotionally unavailable but are curious about my inner workings. They often have mood disorders, which helps since I work in psychology. I also attract men who want to cheat and think I'm easy, only to be swiftly humbled by how difficult I can be. Then there are the men who are maybe 9 to 12 months out of a relationship who, within 2 weeks, tell me they aren't ready. I also get guys who say you're rare or that they've felt an instant attraction to me but then don't want to truly know me. It's as if my depth is too much to handle. They're like someone who tries to tame the flame on a candle and ends up with a bonfire. Respectfully, you just don't do that. Story 51. In friendships and relationships, I seem to attract people with mommy issues. My best friend and my girlfriend both have terrible mommy issues, one from abandonment, the other from cruelty. Girls who have had crushes on me in the past, exactly the same thing. I think this is because I was raised by a loving single mother whom I am close to. I'm very secure and have enough love and stability in my life. My mom taught me a lot of great life lessons, both practical and emotional. The people in my life are attracted to the emotional stability I provide them. I've been told so many times that I'm viewed as a parental figure by both children and grown adults who have neglected or no parents, usually mothers specifically. I'm like the ultimate mom friend. Sometimes it can be exhausting to feel like you're a caregiver and guide to others because you have nobody to turn to. People don't know what to do when you're the one having a problem because they don't know how to help the way you help them. They don't even try. So I keep quiet, and people don't know anything about me and don't even care to ask. I've had to set limits for myself in the past to make sure I'm not being taken advantage of. If I recognize that behavior, I cut it out immediately, but it's hard to run from. I've never met another person with whom I didn't feel this way. Well, if you like these stories, here's more. YouTube thinks you're going to love this. Catch you in that video.